Good morning, evening, afternoon, night, wherever in the world you may be, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing today? Well, I'd like to wish everybody a happy freaking doggone Easter. That's right. This is a happy Easter coming from an old truck driver way away from his family. Way over here in North Carolina, my family back home in Mississippi. Whew, what a wonderful day it is. Sitting here apart, just thinking about some things. One of which, it was about this time in 97. It was about this time of year, I do believe, when also, here is the reason why I believe that I am here today. The reason why I believe that I am here is to share this information. In 97, as a lot of most of my family even remembers or can even recall, I had spinal meningitis. That's a serious deal. Right now, I want to say that now they've got something for the viral, but somebody told me the other day that there's nothing for viral meningitis. So I was fortunate enough to get there in time, and this was back when I was 9 years old. Here I am coming up on 32, and I'm here. I love it. Back in the day, coming up through the end of school and everything, lost a lot of friends over. But the way I look at it, if they were friends, they would have never just walked out of it to begin with. But anyway, that's not the reason for this video. The reason for this video is to share my experience. I was near death at the age of 9. It all started with me and my little brother. We were running around, playing in the neighborhood, and we found these wild dewberries. These wild dewberries, we was out there just picking, having a good time eating. Then was like, well, now it was just brainstorming. So it's like, it'd probably be a good idea to go home and get a giant Tupperware bowl, or two of them. I can't really recall. I think it was just one ginormous thing. We run back up. I'm talking about, we started just plucking and pulling and just piling as much as we could inside this bowl. It was going to take them home and wash them. But before we got home to get the bowl to do that, I had already eaten about a handful of them. And I started getting a little down, but everything was fine. No big deal. Things you don't think of whenever you're a child, getting a little sick or whatnot, no problem. Could have just been allergies or the change of the weather or something like that. Well, got there. After I got back home, I got to the point of, it continued to get worse. And eventually, I started getting thirsty, started drinking stuff. My body kept rejecting. I kept puking it back up. I could not hold it down. I was like, I am thirsty, but my body is constantly rejecting this. Why can't I quench my thirst? Didn't think about it. A little later on, I jumped up because, although I was up chucking everything that I was putting down, I still felt that I had to go to the restroom. And on my way to the restroom, I fucking hit the floor. I collapsed. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I literally had to have my mother was there at the time while my dad was out at work. And, well, she had to help me back to the living room. And I know some people are going to say, oh, you're disgusting. Well, I had to use a mop bucket, okay? I couldn't control anything at that point. I was literally paralyzed from the waist down. You want to talk about getting a little worried, a little scared out of your freaking mind. Yeah, it hit pretty freaking hard at that point because I couldn't get up and walk. So the next time that I felt like I could actually stand up again, I stood back up. Somehow the paralysis went away just long enough for me to finally make it back to the restroom. When I sat down on that toilet, it was all over from there. I couldn't, it never, the paralysis didn't go away after that. So I literally was left on the toilet until my dad got home. He gets in there, wanting to know what's going on. And, pretty much he had to help me up off of there, get me back dressed. It's, looking back on this, it's hard to think about how close I was. But nigga, this is always going to get emotional for me telling this story. But Dad got in, got dressed, went back to the living room, had a few little oopses out there, and finally they were like, you know what, something's wrong, because he literally, he tried to pick me up, tried to stand me up, and I just continued to fall on the floor. I couldn't do anything. And finally he told my mother, it was like, get him to the freaking hospital ASAP. Why? No, she finally, we went down to, because my mother never kept gas in the vehicle. Of course, we had to go down to this wonderful New Augusta, Mississippi to get gas. Our local law enforcement, they had a roadblock and pulled us over. Officer kept telling, you know what I'm saying, can you step out of the car? He kept trying to get me to step out of it. I remember not having a seatbelt on, because, I was slumped over. I couldn't sit straight up, and they weren't about to to fight me, to get me into the seat, you know. But, you know, the officer finally got over there and started to try to pull me out of the car and stuff. My mother, you know, I don't know where she was in this whole doggone thing. But then they realized, you know, something was definitely wrong. You know, thinking that a child is on drugs? Come on, man. This is exactly what they thought, though. You know, that there may have been some kind of drug use or something like that. Finally, you know, she finally freaking told them, look, I'm on my way to the emergency room. I've got to get him to the hospital now. I can't remember if they gave her a ticket or a warning or what it was, but I got to the hospital finally. They rushed me into the CT scanner. I went into that thing and they got it. Y'all want to know something? And yes, this is real tears, by the way. So, because this shit is very emotional, and because I remember whenever I got in there, that exactly what the doctor had told my mother. He told her word for word. All I had was another hour, and I would not be here today. You know, with me, I wouldn't have been here another hour later. You know, that's not something you want to hear at the age of 9. On the way to the hospital, a news report come over the radio that there was a 13-year-old California girl that had died from the same thing that I was on my way to the hospital with. That's very screwed up. I think they had an outbreak in 97 for sure. Well, you know, I used to be all for my mother. You know, she turned me against my dad for a while. You know, after so long, I caught on what was going on, because the day that I showed up at the hospital, my mother left after they got me into a room. I had to wait until the very next day, till Daddy got off of work. My daddy sat there with me the entire time I was there. Mother was nowhere to be found. My daddy sat there that entire time with me. And the guy that he had for a boss at that time threatened to fire him. Apparently, I was more important than his job, okay? And I will never forget that. And so, and of course, after my dad had his strokes and stuff, I left work. I had the same thing done to me. I had my job threatened. And I was ready to tell him the exact same thing that my daddy told his. You can take this job and shove it. My son's more important. Don't tell him the same thing because my dad built up a reputation out there. That man, he was ready and willing to help any damn body. You know, it's funny seeing how things change out here. I do anything for my daddy to this day, you know. Mother, not so much, but, you know, I know somebody out there is going to say, you know, without your parents, you wouldn't be here today. Yes, but there's other things that play into this. But he sat there that entire time. The entire school system had to take medication the entire time I was in the school. Now this is where things got even more screwed up. Is when I first showed up, I had friends out the ass, man. After that right there happened to me, and they were taking all of them, people started, you know, getting away from me, started running away like I had the frickin' cooties or something, you know? Like I had some kind of a damn contagious fucking disease. No, that wasn't contagious. But to make sure nobody had gotten it, everybody was doing that. I had this one old boy that was talking about, dang, it made my pee go from yellow to orange. I was like, okay, that's wonderful. He was amazed when it changed in the color of his urine. And I finally caught up with that old boy. After all these years, I finally caught up with him. But this is why things are very important as far as the vaccinations go. This is one of the many damn things that can happen to a child if they're not taken care of. But it's like stage 1, you start getting down, you start feeling sick, and then you lose your, then it will literally, dang it, what is that called? I just freaking said it too. It would literally cause you to go paralyzed from the waist down. You can't hold food and drink down. You got no control of your bladder or your bowels. I mean, these things are very important. And, you know, I just hope people get educated on what spinal meningitis is. Alright. Hope you get educated on what viral meningitis is. I was so fucking close to leaving this place. So close. And you know, I may have made friends and lost friends all these years, but one thing's for sure. I'm still me, and I'm still here. And ain't nobody gonna change that. If people don't like you for who you are, they can just kick rocks, because that's all they're gonna be good for. This is why, you know, I get to this point of just not caring anymore about the people that have done me wrong, that have turned their backs on me. I don't care anymore. This is not the world that we, all of my fellow peers, you know, had grown up in. This is way different. Oh, man. Just to think that, you know, yeah, and I understand everybody's story is different. But before you go judging somebody, make sure you got a good history lesson. You know. But as for all of my friends and family back home, y'all know the jazz. If it's hot where you are, stay cool. If it's cool where you are, stay warm. Got it? Good. Y'all get out there, stay safe. Don't do anything stupid. For God's sake, educate yourself on this stuff. Vaccination is, you know, it has a purpose. And I will catch you later. Holla.